We want to help you discover those "this really is America" moments.
Have you been dreaming of travel but not sure where to go or how to begin planning? Well, you found the right podcast.
Welcome to Theme Parks and Passports, the travel podcast for every family ready to explore the world, one destination at a time. I'm Melissa Sanchez, travel addict, wife, and mom of 2 big kids. Along with planning all my family adventures, I've been helping others realize their travel dreams through my company, Spellbound Vacations, since 2010.
And I'm Heidi Mackey, a travel enthusiast with a passion for geek and pulp culture. I'm also a wife and a mom of a spicy tween. Since 2017, I've been creating vacation memories for families through my business, House of Mackey Travel. Join us as we share stories, tips, and talk to those in the know to inspire your family's next great adventure.
Because creating family travel memories can happen in any stage of life.
Welcome back to Theme Parks and Passports. I'm Heidi Mackey, owner of House of Mackey Travel.
And I'm Melissa Sanchez, owner of Spellbound Vacations. In honor of the upcoming July 4th holiday, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States, we are going to dive into something a little bit different. And honestly, I think a lot of fun.
We're taking you on a quick trip across the United States, no packing required, highlighting some of our favorite destinations that truly capture the spirit of America.
So we're going to share with you what we feel are the cities where you can just go beyond the touristy destinations and really feel the history of this country, experience and connect with what makes the United States and how we got here.
We've broken it down into 4 easy sections: the Northeast, the South, the West, and of course, Hawaii and Alaska, because each brings something completely different to the table.
They absolutely do. And what we want to do is share our experiences and our favorite places to visit that really bring out the history of the U.S., whether it's walking through the historic streets or soaking in the beautiful nature of our country. We want to help you discover those "this really is America" moments.
This episode is about inspiring you about your next U.S. destination getaway without overwhelming you with too many options.
So whether you're planning your next vacation or just daydreaming a little bit today, we've got you covered. Let's jump in, Heidi. So we're going to start in the Northeast, which is where I'm from. I actually grew up in New England, Massachusetts to be specific. And right now I live right outside of New York City. So that's another whole part of the Northeast. But the little tiny town I grew up in, Oxford, Massachusetts, is older than our country itself. As a matter of fact, I believe we are turning 312 years old this year. And technically, the first settlement of French Huguenots was in 1687, so 339 years ago. Little
That's
history
amazing.
for you.
You have to talk about growing up in the history of the United States.
Absolutely. And one quick little side note is Clara Barton, the founder of the Red Cross, was born in the town I grew up in. That's just
Oh,
kind
that's
of
so
a cool
cool.
little side note, little cool historic thing. But in the Northeast and growing up there, it's not like it was something we thought about every day because that's just where we lived. But when you visit the Northeast, when you visit New England, when you visit New York or Washington, D.C. or Philadelphia, you don't just learn about American history. You truly are walking through it. Like, this is the part of the country where you really tap into that story of how America came to be. And you can feel it, you can see it, you can taste it. It really is the perfect place. So starting up in that Northeast region, let's start with Boston, one of my favorite cities. You can walk the Freedom Trail, literally tracing the American Revolution step by step. It is a 2.5-mile path. It's a red line that you follow all the way through Boston. You're passing, I think it's about 16 or so significant 17th, 18th century historic sites. You can go up to Beacon Hill, where you still have the cobblestone streets and the classic New England architecture. There's Quincy Market and Faneuil Hall, a must-do whenever I go there. Super touristy, yes, but also, while the names are used interchangeably, Quincy Market, Faneuil Hall, you think, same destination. Faneuil Hall is specifically the 18th century meeting hall, known as the Cradle of Liberty, while Quincy Market is the 19th century building famous for its central food. Now, the word I have here is colonnade. Let's be honest, people, not really the word I would use. It's just an awesome building with tons of great food inside of it. Get the clam chowder, get the buttery lobster roll. If you want to taste New England and American history, that's where you're going to taste it. It is
Oh,
absolutely perfect. Perfect. And then moving a little bit further north, you've got Bar Harbor, or as I used to say, Bahaba. Perfect summer spot paired with Arcadia National Park. It is a great location. Now, the last time I was there, I was probably about 12, but I do have distinct memories of how beautiful the landscape was and how gorgeous Arcadia National Park was. It was definitely like a must visit if you're touring up in that area of the country.
a note about that. Our producer, actually, that's where she got engaged.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah, it is definitely that classic New England feel. The rocky shorelines, the slower pace, and it is one of the first places in the US to see the sunrise. So, pretty cool spot to stop in. So, let's move back down. Let's stop in New York City. New York, New York.
Oh,
How can you not love it? I'm in the city all the time. It really is a true melting pot of this country. It was the first US capital under the Constitution. It eventually moved to what is now Washington, D.C., and became more of the banking capital. Thank you, Alexander Hamilton. And speaking of Hamilton, you could take in Hamilton Broadway show. Love, love, love that show. I literally listen to the soundtrack all the time in my car. If I have a longer car ride, think I can sing every word. And once you've done that and you've sung along, you can take a tour in New York that visits some of the same locations that you have heard about the night before in the Broadway show. So it's a great way to learn some American history, immerse yourself into the city. Then you can take a ferry over to the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island, which represents immigration and opportunity, and learn about all the people that came into this country to help build it. I love New York City. It's one of my favorite places. It's part of the reason that it's not part of the reason, it is the reason I moved here was New
oh,
York.
yeah. I
Definitely.
I went to college down here basically because I wanted to be down here. I went to grad school in the city. I lived in the city and worked in the city for such a long time. I
It is
lived in Astoria.
amazing.
Talk about the melting pot. You could go to a Greek diner and then have a pint and then finish off. And it's so good. It was I miss it a lot being in the Poconos. We were actually just there 2 days ago. We were back in Queens and I love it.
Yeah, it is just quintessential US melting pot.
Oh, absolutely.
So then let's move to another fantastic city, Philadelphia.
Mhm.
Of course, you've got the Liberty Bell, one of the most recognizable icons in American independence. You can explore Independence Hall there, where the Declaration of Independence was signed. There's all kinds of tours that we can book and do there too to take in the history of Philadelphia itself. And of course, there's the food scene.
Yeah.
Can't forget the food scene. One of my favorite places to stop by is the Reading Market. It is only, I want to say it's less than a mile from the Liberty Bell. So it's one of those things where you could do your exploring around Independent Hall, the Liberty Bell, that whole area, and then take a walk over to Reading Terminal Market. Similar to that Quincy Market, it's an indoor farmers market and has been since 1893. So definitely another historic spot to stop by in the Northeast. And of course, there's always Washington, D.C., a fantastic walkable city. So many tours, so many museums, the Smithsonian museums that you can visit free of charge. Beautiful, beautiful city, steeped in our U.S. history. If you get there in the right time in April, you can see the cherry blossoms.
Well, now that we've explored where America began, you can't talk about America without mentioning Boston, Philly, Washington, D.C. I'm going to take you a little south where the stories get a little warmer, the pace gets a little slower, and the culture really comes alive. We're talking food, music, history, and unmistakable Southern charm that each city shows us in its own way. So, you were talking about growing up in Massachusetts. I spent 3/4 of my life in the Northeast in this tri state area, so New Jersey, New York, and now in Pennsylvania. But I did spend a stint of my youth in Nashville. So it's so close to my heart. My family, I call my ancestral home, is West Virginia. That's where both my mom and dad are from. And we went and visited family a lot. So I have such a connection to the South. I love it. But you can find so many different types of South. So I want to start with Nashville. So you're talking about the Hollywood of country music or Hollywood of music. There's an energy that's popping everywhere when you're in Nashville. You can visit the Country Music Hall of Fame and the museum. You can take in a concert at the Grand Ole Opry. You can stay and have an elevated experience at the Opryland Resort, which is also a water park. There's beautiful
Cool.
parks. There's actually a full scale model of the Parthenon, which we used to get pizza bagels, which compares nothing to the Northeast, but we hadn't been in the Northeast yet. Pizza bagels and go sit in the Parthenon. And then you've also got that new Nashville. It's not stuck in the past. Nashville is always growing, just as the music is always growing. And you can go to places like the Optimist. The food experience is just amazing. You can country line dance, you can hit up a traditional bar, you can hear old country, you can hear new country. And it's a Southern melting pot, which gives you a little bit of all sorts of different Southern experiences. It's one of my favorite places.
Yeah, we loved our trip last year in March. I went to Nashville for a few days for my first visit. It was fantastic and so fun. I definitely did not get to explore as much as I would like to have. So it's definitely on my list of a revisit to
Mhm.
that city.
It's a very good girls' trip location.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And where you can spend the entire night out or you can spend the entire day out and then sleep in.
Yeah, that's more my speed. Entire day
Yes.
out.
Next, I'm going to take you to Savannah, Georgia. Very different. We're talking about walking through historic squares, really stepping into early America. A lot of the history is still there in the architecture, in the spirit of everything. But the cool thing about Savannah is that it has so much history, but it also has so much modernization. Some of the things I'd like to highlight, let's talk history first, is it's actually on my to-do list this year because we'll be taking our Girl Scout troop to Savannah because it is the birthplace of Girl Scouts of the United States founder, Julia Gordon Low. It's also where she had her first meeting in 1921. And so there's a ton of girl power history that's there.
Mhm.
One of the things that's also very cool in talking girl power is you have to stop by Savannah School of Art and Design. It was founded by a woman in 1979 who saw that there was no education for arts and design in the South. And she said, we got to fix that. And she opened her doors, and it's now a major hub for animation, film, fashion. They've got some amazing students coming out of there. If you get a chance, definitely participate in one of SCAD, which is what they call themselves, SCAD Savannah Film Festival or SCAD Sidewalk Art Festival. If you're there when it's going on, definitely stop by. It will be able to give you the opportunity to see the modern as you're walking through the past. It's so cool to see where we've been and where we're going. Savannah, Georgia is also great for set jetting. Savannah itself is gorgeous, but it has so many different looks to it that it can be part of a ton of different movies. I can't name them all, but the ones that are going to be quintessentially Savannah and the South, of course, is going to be Forrest Gump and Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Older movies, but definitely Savannah. But you'd be surprised how many different films, including Ant-Man and the Wasp, which were filmed in Savannah. When you're visiting Savannah, you really get to enjoy that slow pace, moss covered tree, really be transportive. But then you can also go and eat like a rock star at very cool place called the Gray, which is a converted 1938 Art Deco Greyhound bus terminal. Try to say that 3 times fast. But it also gives you the opportunity to really see how Southern food is evolving, where it came from and where it's going.
And I know I have not been to Savannah yet, but my parents have visited and they loved the historic tour that they did there. It's really different growing up in the Northeast and then going south and doing a historic tour in the South and listening to truly a different perspective of the founding of our country. And Savannah is a great opportunity to do a tour and do that.
Yeah, and if you're thinking of timeline, all the places that we're talking about are different spots on the timeline of American history. So the stories are going to definitely be different. The situations are going to be different. They're going to be starting for different reasons. And being able to see the contract between the Northeast and the South and their start as part of America is like mind blowing.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
But let's take you one more place that is completely different than the rest and the same all at the same time is New Orleans. New Orleans
Mhm.
has a history like no other place in the United States. It has a culture like no other place in the United States. And it's way too big to get in here, so you're just going to have to go visit. You can see the French Quarter, which helps you understand New Orleans itself, where it came from, what its history was, even like literally why it's there. When you think New Orleans, you usually think French Quarter and Mardi Gras, which does pretty much happen all year long. But learning the history of why they celebrate that, where the French culture comes from, is absolutely amazing. And like I said, like no other place in the United States.
It is one of my favorite cities. I love New Orleans. I have visited multiple times. I'm always, it's funny, it's one of those places where it's always in the back of my head. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we could do a trip to New Orleans. Maybe we could get back down to New Orleans. I love that city. And one of the things I want to mention here is something that I love doing. And I've done it in multiple cities: New Orleans, Nashville, Boston, ghost tours.
Yes. If you're going to
Ghost
do it, if there's one city you want to do a ghost tour in, it would be New Orleans. Savannah is another place for ghost tours that are amazing. They actually even have a family friendly one, which does it at twilight versus at night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. These are the places to do the ghost tours.
Yeah, any of these historic cities, they are so fun. It is literally one of my favorite things to do when I'm visiting a new city is do a ghost tour.
That and food. I feel like
Yeah.
food will help you learn about a place also. New Orleans is where I've had some of my most unique food experiences within the United States. There's very few places, there are other places, but there are very few places you can truly get alligator.
Yeah. So true. So true. So,
Mhm.
as we move away from the South, we're gonna travel out west where the landscapes get bigger, the energy shifts a little, and you can really feel how big the United States as a whole is.
Yes, and as we move through the timeline of the United States, right? So the West is where you're going to want to go for the space and the scenery and the sense of freedom that you just really can't replicate anywhere else. This is where you get the this is why we travel moments. The
Yes.
big scenery, it's still very experience driven, but if you guide it right, then you can really immerse yourself in just the beauty and the reason why it's called America the Beautiful.
Yeah, it definitely is, and when I last summer visited out west and went to the Grand Canyon and a couple of other places in the region, it was like nothing I had ever seen before. If you've never been there, you don't even know what to expect, and when you go to places like Yellowstone National Park or the Jackson Hole area, visiting Grand Teton National Park, that's also where you're gonna get the wildlife. It really does feel like the Old West.
And such a different contrast to the two places we've talked about. New York
Yeah.
City, there's 3 people per square inch. You're talking about one person per 3 square miles in this area in the West. It's pictures do it no justice.
True.
Pictures are gorgeous. You will end up with amazing photography, but you'll never truly be able to capture the experience of being there in person.
Yeah, that part of the Southwest and West area is a great place to learn about the Native American history part
Mhm.
of our country too. It's definitely something that you should include. So you're going to be learning not just about the birth of our country, but the people who were here before it was our country.
Yeah. It's Scottsdale, Jackson Hole, even moving all the way down to Albuquerque. I haven't been to Albuquerque since I was a child, but it's burned into my brain the beauty of it.
Mhm.
That seems a little
And
dramatic, but it was gorgeous.
yeah, yeah. I have not done New Mexico. That's one of the states I haven't visited, but I have gone all the way out to California. And California has so many different landscapes too that you can experience. You've got obviously the coast and the Pacific Coast Highway that you can drive, San Francisco, the Napa Valley, the feeling of crossing over that Golden Gate Bridge, the exploring the different neighborhoods there, which is a very different feel in Northern California than what you're gonna find in that LA and San Diego beachy kind of area in Southern California. It's very even though it is one state, you can experience 2 very probably more like 3 or 4 very different trips. California is definitely a spot where you may plan to go back over and over again.
It's almost an entire coast. It's one state, but it's not something that you would do in a day or 2 days, and it's
Right.
definitely one where whatever you're looking for, you can find.
Yeah, it's perfect. Again, I've said it before, but one of my favorite places, like, there are just so many places within the United States that I think to myself, "Could I live here?
Yeah.
Could I live here?" But I also do that when I go to Europe, so, I think it's just a bad habit of mine.
Yep, it was always my plan to live in California. I did not. My sister and my parents did at one point in time each in their life, but I never got over there.
Same, same. My husband was actually offered a job out there years ago, and we decided to stay in the New York area, but for one little minute, it was like, "Ooh, am I gonna live in LA?" Like, the
Yeah.
cool LA vibe, and LA is definitely a vibe, so if you get out there, there are so many things and so much history that you can learn out in that state that it's definitely more than just a quick weekend getaway, where you may feel that way about some of these other cities that we're talking about, coming to New York City for a long weekend or Philly for a long weekend, depending on where you live and where you're coming from. Going out to California, if you truly wanna see California in the different parts of it, it's definitely a longer trip.
And there's history, not only the older American history, but we were talking about significant events. Talking about Napa Valley, the most American thing you can say about the American spirit is that Napa Valley reinvented itself from a failing farming area. It decided to start growing grapes. And in 1976, it won a blind taste test in Paris called the Judgment of Paris.
I didn't know that. That's very cool.
And until then, anything from the United States was completely discounted. But because they won this blind taste test of both a red and a white, it secured the US in a place on the
Huh.
wine's world map. It's such a cool example of being American. You think you go to Napa just to drink the wine? No, go to Napa to drink history.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't know that. That's very, very cool, and I'm not a huge wine drinker, so, not something I don't think I've tried a lot of Napa Valley wines, but now I'm like, "Hmm, let me go find those."
I think something important to know about not being able to see California in a single day is the whole West is really the land of the road trip. Drive the
Yeah.
Pacific Coast Highway, drive Route 66, which by the way is turning 100 years old this year. The drive becomes the destination. If that's what you're looking for, these are the places to go.
So Route 66 is the road that everybody knows, right? It's iconic. It ends on the California coast, but there's another less talked about road called Route 20. Route 20 starts in Massachusetts and ends in Oregon, and you can drive all the way across the United States.
Oh,
So,
that's amazing.
if you're looking for a different road trip that's gonna bring you through the northern US, that could be an option.
Oh, very cool. That's actually the other name for that is the Oregon Trail.
I did not know that, so that's pretty
No,
cool.
that's very cool. It's a 2-lane trek that runs from Oregon all the way to Cape Cod.
Very cool. Very cool. Anyway, let's move away from these big landscapes and talk about the 49th and 50th states. That would be Alaska, the 49th, and Hawaii, the 50th, where Hawaii did not come a state until 1959, I want to say. Yes, I am correct. I just glanced at my notes. 1959, Hawaii became a state.
You
These
win the
are literally,
trivia.
yes, bit of trivia. These states are literally the polar opposites. You have Alaska up north, and you have Hawaii as our southernmost state, made up of a group of islands. The most popular being Oahu, Maui, Kauai, the big island of Hawaii. And then there's a couple of smaller ones that I've been to, also Molokai and Lanai, which you can visit. But each of these islands also brings you something different. You've got the beautiful beaches, the volcanoes, this gorgeous, gorgeous backdrop, but it really blends a lot of US history. On Oahu, you can visit Pearl Harbor, and there's a lot of history there. Your backdrop when you're standing on Waikiki Beach is Diamond Head. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. There's all kinds of different neighborhoods, just like every other city you have out there, but Honolulu, Waikiki area, a really true melting pot of the cultures that came to Hawaii. And you move over to Maui with its gorgeous, lush landscapes. You can drive the road to Hana. You can watch the sunrise or the sunset over Haleakala, which is a dormant volcano. It is gorgeous. I have done the sunrise there. It's really cold, but it is so worth it to do. And the storytelling, the music, the food, just the culture in general in Hawaii. And if you're into the volcanoes, go over to the big island of Hawaii and you're going to see the lava flows when you are there. And Kauai, laid back, quiet, definitely relaxing. So when you do Hawaii, if you do multi island, that state in itself, if you can do 10 days to 2 weeks to see as much as you can, it's perfect. Definitely not a short getaway the way some of our other cities may be. It's definitely a longer trip. I mean, from the East Coast, you're talking an 11-hour flight if you were flying nonstop. And then we have Alaska, the last frontier, beautiful Alaska. A lot of people see Alaska via cruising, right?
Yes. Mhm. That's the most popular to be able to truly see the glaciers up
Yes.
close and see nature at work. Cruising is one amazing way to see that, but there's so much more to Alaska also.
There is, and if you let's say you're like, "I really wanna cruise, but I still wanna see part of the interior," you can actually do a cruise tour. A
Mhm.
lot of the cruise lines have it's a combination, and that's something we can definitely help you with, but it gives you the opportunity to do the cruise and see the glaciers and do all of that, but then see some of the interior of the island, places like Denali National Park, which is home to the highest peak in North America. And the wildlife, the bear, the moose, all just I don't even have words to how incredibly amazing this state is and all the things you can experience there and all the rich history that is there. Because remember, being the 49th state, there was a long time of native culture that still exists today that you can learn from and learn about. And it's a perfect place for history, adventure, nature. It just has a complete combination of all of it.
It's also the one place in the United States that the majority of it is untouched.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
therefore, you're going to be a lot closer to the actual nature of Alaska. That's where all of the animals are coming from. The towns are built up and absolutely established, but they don't go out as far as others would. So therefore, you're working with a lot of natural landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have the beautiful train ride you can take, the Alaska Railway. It's gorgeous, gorgeous landscaping. Take a small plane ride above wherever you're visiting and get that view of Alaska from above. It's going to change just change your view of everything, literally and figuratively.
And with that, that wraps up our little tour of the United States, from historic streets and musical cities to wide open landscapes and island escapes. What we love most is that no matter where you go in the United States, you're not just traveling. You're stepping into a completely different story, a different rhythm, and a different piece and time in American history.
And whether it's your first visit to a city or state or your 50th visit, there is always something new that you can experience in all of these destinations that we talked about today. And we hope this gives you some inspiration to visit your country, to visit the different locations, or at least add a few places to your bucket list.
Thanks for joining us today on Theme Parks and Passports. Please like and share with someone you want to take your next U.S. destination journey with.
And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you're one of the first to know when new episodes are released. Thanks for joining. See you next episode.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit subscribe on Spotify or your favorite podcast player. And while you're there, feel free to leave us a rating and review.
Check out the show notes for links to Spellbound Vacations LLC and House of Mackie Travel. Until next time, keep living your best travel life.